who he was eventually going to be involved in programs with over the championship if in fact Sheamus were to cash in the briefcase to turn Rollins into a fan favorite. There are so many ways. The possibilities of bringing Rollins back now are endless. We could see that feud between Triple H and Seth Rollins more than likely if Rollins returns by, say, the summer of 2016, with Triple H turning on Seth Rollins and pulling the proverbial turncoat on Rollins. It would be awesome seeing Seth Rollins versus Triple H in a match where pedigree goes up against pedigree and Seth Rollins actually hits Triple H with his own move, attempting to beat him. There are so many ways this one could go, and given Triple H's track record with people that he's been the protege of over the last number of years, Triple H has been known to turn on people like Randy Orton and Batista, so he could do the same thing, pulling a turncoat on Seth Rollins. But again, with this injury, it opens up the door of opportunity and giving us a chance to possibly see storylines that we haven't seen before, and Rollins actually being involved in programs with the likes of people like Bray Wyatt and people he's never been involved in feuds with and or programs ever before. I've enjoyed seeing him a part of the Authority, but I think the emphasis on Rollins has been a bit too much carried away. It's almost like WWE have, convinced Rollins, the executives on the board have convinced Rollins that he is actually the future of WWE, and I think they really went a bit too far with it, because I think that in these 7 months we could have seen more champions crowned, more storylines created. So at least with Rollins being gone for a significant amount of time, up to 9 months is the maximum amount of time they're allowing for Rollins to rehabilitate himself from this injury. Following his injury, he tweeted on his Twitter at Seth Rollins that he guarantees us that he'll come back stronger than ever before. I have no doubt. In my mind, for the Seth Rollins fans, I think I speak for all of you, and I think I can get away with saying that we will see Rollins back better than he ever has been before, and we'll probably see a second, if not a third, championship reign. I expect big things from Rollins in the future, although I was never really a big fan of Seth Rollins. I have openly been honest with you guys since Rollins became champion in the fall of the WrestleMania 31. Preferably, I'd rather see someone like Sting or a Brock Lesnar on top longer than someone like a Seth Rollins, and I was really depressed when Rollins, of course, broke Sting's neck courtesy of the running power bomb, where Sting actually had a freak accident at Night of Champions. The match was stopped. The doctor came out, checked on Sting. Sting finished the match. He was curb stomped into the mat, and then Seth Rollins pinned Sting to retain the championship. With Sting not winning a major pay-per-view match, I was really depressed, left in a state of depression, and even more so after the conclusion of the match between himself and Rollins at the Night of Champions pay-per-view. Preferably, I'd rather see someone like Brock Lesnar and Sting on top rather than Seth Rollins, but I guess Seth Rollins is the way to go for WWE promoting the New Talent Initiative in 2015, although I can think of a lot of names who could be promoting the New Talent Initiative just as effectively, if not better, than what Seth Rollins is right now. Possibly Samoa Joe, who I'm expecting big things from, coming up with his WWE debut after spending a great deal of time on NXT and feuds with people like Prince Pretty. Really looking forward to seeing Samoa Joe crossover from NXT to WWE really soon. I'm expecting big things from him. He's a guy who could carry the New Talent Initiative as champion, but for some reason they believe in the hype that goes with Seth Rollins. And I was really expecting big things from someone like a Dean Ambrose from the Shield. One good thing from Seth Rollins' injury that could be derived from all of this is Dean Ambrose will finally get a push that he's been long deserving of. It seems like they were trying to create something out of Dean Ambrose early on in Seth Rollins' reign as champion, and they couldn't get anything off the ground with Dean Ambrose. And what I see happening here are one of two things. Either Roman Reigns will sell out in a finals match in the tournament between himself and Dean Ambrose, or Dean Ambrose will be the proverbial turncoat for the Authority and align himself with Triple H and Stephanie. Dean Ambrose could be the sellout. It's either going to go that way, or if Roman Reigns wins the title, Sheamus will come out and cash in the briefcase, giving him a perfect opportunity to cash in on a vulnerable Roman Reigns or whoever wins the tournament to become champion, courtesy of the Money in the Bank briefcase. Of course, that's been the thing about the Money in the Bank briefcase for years, allowing someone an opportunity for a championship match whenever they want it, whenever they desire it, within a 365-day period, and be it that Roman Reigns and Sheamus are in a tournament match at the 16 Elimination Man tournament this year, it could go the way of Roman Reigns putting Sheamus out of the tournament and Sheamus just turning around out of nowhere, cashing in the briefcase on Reigns to win the title at the conclusion of the tournament. We have seen stranger things happen over the last number of years. Rollins was never that guy, in my opinion, who could really get WWE over. Now, he's a great representative. I will give him credit for being a great representative of the New Talent Initiative. But like I said, I can think of so many guys who could be in the position that Rollins was left in after WrestleMania 31. It's just something about Triple H and the WWE executives who believe that people like Seth Rollins are really getting the business over. If you want to talk about people who are over in WWE, it's definitely the New Day with their popularity, which is going up and getting greater all the time. The New Day, of course, with Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, and Big E Langston, really enjoying what they're doing for tag team wrestling in WWE right now. You couldn't think of a better team to have the tag team titles on. Really like what Bo Dallas is doing in the WWE, and it's beyond me why they haven't given him the Intercontinental Championship. That would be a great way of putting over Bo Dallas by giving him the IC title and giving him a significant amount of time on top as champion. And if you actually pay attention to Bo Dallas's Twitter, you will notice thousands of followers on Twitter who are actually getting behind Bo Dallas for everything Bo Dallas is doing in the WWE. There are a significant number of Bo leavers out there, to say the very least, of Bo Dallas on Twitter, so you can see some photos of fans with their Bo Leave t-shirts, their Bo Leave dog tags, with their animals they have purchased. Thousands of people getting on the Bo Leave fan wagon, so Bo Dallas is definitely over. In WWE, again, Samoa Joe is someone who's getting over on NXT all the time, but if you had to, think about teams that are over and wrestlers who are over in WWE, probably even more than what Seth Rollins was during his reign as champion, definitely Samoa Joe on NXT. The New Day, when you're talking about tag team wrestling, you would think that a team like the Dudley Boys would have been champions long before now after they returned shortly. You would have thought shortly after that they would have won the titles, but I think they're putting it off until this coming February for their 20th anniversary. But, the New Day really are over. In the tag team division, we have Bo Dallas getting over all the time. Again, it's beyond me why they haven't given him the Intercontinental Championship. So, this provides WWE this injury with a tremendous opportunity to create something special out of somebody like a Dean Ambrose, possibly even a Roman Reigns, although I'm not really a big fan of Roman Reigns. Neither was I a fan of Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns from The Shield. Initially, who I thought was going to amount to something far greater in The Shield, it was going to be someone like a Dean Ambrose, and I thought a little bit, somewhere in the depths of my soul, I thought Roman Reigns was going to amount to something far greater than what he did, especially after winning the Royal Rumble. But based off the Philadelphia's crowd reaction, I didn't think that Roman Reigns was really going to go far based off of how Philadelphia responded to Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble. If you ask any fan in Philadelphia about this year's Royal Rumble's fallout, they would tell you probably it's the worst Royal Rumble they have seen in the last 15, 20 years since the inception of the Royal Rumble back in the 80s, and I can't blame the Philadelphia fans for feeling that way about the Royal Rumble, given how everybody was just ran through in the Royal Rumble by certain individuals like Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns eliminated about 12 or 13 individuals in this year's Royal Rumble, and that was absolutely ridiculous, and how they treated people like Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt in this year's Royal Rumble just to give Roman Reigns the Duke in the Royal Rumble match to go to WrestleMania 31 and face Brock Lesnar in a match that amounted to nothing, only before Seth Rollins came out to save the match. I will give Rollins the benefit of the doubt for saving the WrestleMania main event and making it more unpredictable than what it was. People believe Rollins was going to do what he did. A lot of people probably didn't expect it to happen, more so than the people that did believe Rollins was going to come through with the Money in the Bank briefcase, but I will give him credit for saving the WrestleMania main event the way that he did. Wasn't really a big fan of it first off, but once I realized the psychology that went with him cashing in the briefcase on Lesnar and Reigns halfway through the WrestleMania main event, I became more appreciative of what Rollins did, and in my opinion, he saved WrestleMania, and that probably went a long way in WWE prolonging his reign as champion. They obviously had a date and time figured out for Rollins to drop the title and who he was going to drop the title to, but it's unfortunate things had to go the way that they did. And again, a knee injury is very difficult to have to rebound off of, but off the rebound of this injury, I expect big things to happen for Seth Rollins, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who expects big things for Seth Rollins off of his return, which will happen as late as the middle of August next year, just before SummerSlam. I think Rollins will either return just a couple of months after WrestleMania, probably by May, and if not then, we're going to see Seth Rollins return by SummerSlam just a couple of weeks before that, and that could set up for something like Seth Rollins versus Triple H, which I am really a big fan of, because I think the psychology that would go with Seth Rollins versus Triple H would be magnificent, especially with how Triple H doesn't have a beef with anybody in wrestling right now, and a reason to get in the ring. Probably Seth Rollins could give him that reason to return to the ring for the first time since WrestleMania 31. Just to bring you up to speed, Triple H hasn't wrestled in a match since he fought Sting this year at WrestleMania, so that could open up the door for seeing Seth Rollins versus Triple H probably sooner than what we probably are looking forward to seeing this match happen. I was thinking we were probably going to see it by WrestleMania 32, obviously with the Rollins missing WrestleMania now for the allotted time for the rebound off the injury. It may be prolonged until SummerSlam, but I think this creates a perfect opportunity to set up for Triple H versus Seth Rollins. Rollins, even though, we've been waiting so long for this to happen. There are so many ways that this could go. It's really depressing, obviously, for Seth Rollins fans, and I will say this, I really do feel for the Seth Rollins fans out there who have to put up with Seth Rollins being gone for a significant amount of time. For those of you who feel that Seth Rollins has been saving WWE ever since the inception of his reign as champion, I understand how you feel about this, but I mean, we have seen this happen to so many legends over the years. I mentioned a couple of them at the top of the show here. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash has been prone to knee injuries for years, and we've all seen them rebound off of knee injuries. We've seen Kevin Nash, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Shawn Michaels all come back rehabilitated better than ever before off these injuries, and people like Kevin Nash are still booking stuff. So to say that about these legends, we can say the same thing about Seth Rollins and get away with saying that Seth Rollins will probably come back stronger than ever and probably be more unpredictable than he ever was before he left with this major injury. Again, this happened during a UK tour. He went down in a house show. He went for the curb stomp or something, or a power bomb, something along those lines, and he suffered this injury. I think that power bomb is something that needs to be taken out of Seth Rollins' moveset, in my opinion, because we had that freak accident with Sting because of the power bomb in the match at Night of Champions, and we just recently had a freak accident when Rollins was defending the title on tour at a house show. WWE.com posted several photos and articles about this, and also ProWrestling.com, ProWrestling.net, PWInsider.com, Pro Wrestling Torch have all been posting articles and updates on this, and we're going to get this every half hour on my Facebook page and on my Twitter. You're probably tired of seeing news updates being posted on my Facebook page and on my Twitter every 30 minutes on this, but we are keeping you up to date on the Seth Rollins situation. It's one of the biggest stories to have been publicized by pro wrestling news websites over the last at least 48 hours, ever since Monday when news of this first broke. After the fallout of a house show, and photos have been posted on WWE.com, several articles, and on wrestling news websites, they had to do something. They determined a 16-man single elimination tournament was the way to go for Survivor Series. Definitely Rollins' injury is a huge setback for WWE, and now new storylines have to be created and written for the purpose to fall back on this injury, and I think that WWE will definitely rebound off of it, although it may seem difficult for them to do that. We have seen